Hello viewers, in this video I'm going to talk about frame rate. Imagine the scene. You're just about to film your masterpiece. It's going to be a massive viral hit. And then you suddenly think, what frame rate should I be using? And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. The first thing you need to realise is that the frame rate you record at does not need to be the same frame rate as the one you deliver at. And by deliver at, I mean the file that you're going to upload once you've rendered it out of your video editing software. Now, the first thing you need to consider is that the frame rate that you're going to upload to a streaming platform that's the one that you render out in your video editor. It doesn't need to be the same as what you're recording. Most video editors will conform your footage so that if you record at 50 frames per second, for example, and then drop it into a 25 frame per second timeline, it will play back fine at 25 frames per second and there's nothing to worry about. Let's talk about the cinema and cinematic, because lots of people want their output to be looking cinematic, and why not? Now, the thing you need to realise about cinema is that films have standardised at 24 frames per second for the last 100 years. Silent movies before that were filmed at 16 to 18 frames per second and, as you'll probably realise, look somewhat jerky. In the late 1920s, film standardised at 24 frames per second, and the reason for that was a technical, mechanical one. 24 frames per second was the slowest frame rate that would give smooth looking footage. If you think about it, if you're going to film at a higher frame rate with conventional analog film, you need more film and you need to push it through the camera and afterwards the projector faster, which makes the whole operation more expensive. And that's why they went for the slowest possible. Now, 24 frames per second with the shutter speed at half that, often called 180-degree shutter speed, has a particular look because that shutter speed gives you motion blur. The shutters open for 1/48th of a second, and for a moving object you're then going to get some, what most people consider, pleasing motion blur. So if the cinema and the cinematic look is what you're after, then just go for it. Film at 24 frames per second. Streaming platforms. Now, YouTube specifies in their help documentation you can use frame rates of 24, 25, 30, 48, 50 or 60 frames per second, or any other frame rate, so that shouldn't be a problem at all. I looked at Instagram. Instagram specifies a minimum frame rate of 30 frames per second. For TikTok, I couldn't find anything official on the TikTok website. When I looked in DaVinci Resolve at the TikTok Deliver preset, it indicated 24 to 60 frames per second, and that's also what I found when I did some searches and asked AI. So TikTok looks pretty flexible in terms of frame rates. Out of the three platforms, YouTube gives you the clearest guidance, followed by Instagram, with TikTok, I'm afraid, giving the least useful information. The most important reason that you need to consider your frame rate carefully is that lighting flickers depending on the electricity supply of the region you're in. This applies particularly to fluorescent lights, but also can apply to LEDs. Now, fluorescent lights flicker at the frequency of the alternating current of the electricity supply of the region you're in. If you're in the US, that's going to be 60 Hertz, that's 60 times per second. If you're in Europe or the UK, it's going to be 50 times per second. What you need to do is to set your frame rate so it divides into the frequency of the power supply. So say if you're in the US, that frequency is 60, so a frame rate of 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second will work perfectly. In Europe or the UK, where you have 50 hertz frequency for the electricity supply, you need to have your frame rate set to 25 or 50 frames per second, or in essence a multiple of 25, and in the US a multiple of 30. In conclusion, if you're in Europe or the UK, just record at 25 frames per second or a multiplier of that, such as 50 or 100. And if you're in the US, record at 30 frames per second or a multiplier of that, such as 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second. And you should be fine. Thank you for watching. I hope you found that video useful and informative. If you did, please click on the like and subscribe buttons. Have a fantastic day.